Are we going?
Welcome to ICTBC. It's
June
your
edition.
monthly Facebook Live book club. I'm librarian Racy,
I'm librarian Sarah.
and today we're talking about All the Light We Cannot See. How do you say his last name?
I don't know. Doer?
Anthony Doerr.
You know
That's
what?
my guess.
You can make it up if you want. Just don't tell the author that we said that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So we've got something really important to start off with. Did you know that I was a children's librarian like a million years ago?
I can see that. I did not know that, but I can see that very easily.
So like kids, I would say, hey, how many books are you going to read this summer? And they would say 5,000. And I'd be like, that sounds great, but are you going to have time for swimming or going to an amusement park or playing with your friends? And they'd be like, no. So my point is that we read stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look me in the eyes, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
We read stuff when we can.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you have happen this month to you?
Well, we moved.
We moved as a library.
I got a new job.
She got a new job.
I got stuck in an airport.
She got stuck in an airport.
Had to charter
You can't
home.
read when you're stuck. It's just like, you'd be spite reading, wouldn't you?
A little bit.
Yeah. Anyways, my point being is that, and I want you to pipe in too, if you haven't read the book for a book club, or if you made a good faith effort of as many pages as you can, right?
Okay, what Racy's trying to say is I couldn't finish the book. Okay? I tried really hard, life got in the way, and I liked what I read, and we're going to talk about it in as much detail as we can, but Racine has promised me no spoilers because I have every intention of finishing this book.
And no guilt.
I still have guilt.
I want you to pipe in on the comments. Have you ever gone to a book club and it's like you wanted to, but you just couldn't finish the book? Maybe you didn't want to, and that's okay too.
Yes,
I think it's really important to go to the book club. You know, if you're only getting like 50%, then maybe you don't need to be in a book club, but...
As in like 50% of the time you don't finish the book.
Right. Right.
Maybe.
So.
But anyway, so it's true. I did not. I have lots of guilt. I feel like I've let you all down by not finishing the book, but I think we can still talk about it.
And it's a fascinating book. What is it about?
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I got so far. So it's these two children in very different lives. They're about 2 years apart, and they're a country apart, right? There's a little blind girl in France who, the book starts out in 1944. I'm not going to tell you that I thought the war was over in 1944, but I did. And so I was surprised that there was still this, significant bombing going on. And so anyway, she's caught in this attack on her small town, and she's blind, and there's no one in the house with her, and she's very scared. And then there's a boy who's a couple years older than her, German, who grows up in an orphanage, and he starts tinkering with radios, and so he's very good at that, and he finds he has a real knack for figuring out electricity and currents and things like that in mathematics. And you can see that he's struggling with the Hitler takeover of the country, and so I think he knows that there's something wrong with it. Anyway, I didn't get as far as I would like to have, but you can tell that there's something wrong with it, but he goes away to this school to learn about, to see if he can get involved in there. Basically, to
That's
take
like
what
a
he has
Hitler
already,
Youth kind of a thing.
the learning that he's already done on his own, and go to a formal school.
Yeah.
But yes, it's very much Hitler Youth, and he's like, ooh, I don't know if I should really commit or not, but it could take me out of poverty and make a life for me and my sister.
And he's an orphan.
And he's an orphan. He has nothing.
Yeah.
His other option is to go down in the mines where
Yeah.
his father died,
Right.
which is what made him and his sister orphans. And so, anyway, their stories are very compelling, and they make for really interesting subjects. The little blind girl, her dad creates her whole community, her whole neighborhood, and tiny little scale, so she'll learn it with her hands, and then they go and they walk it, and she starts to see the way that this little model comes to life. And there's lots of those little touching moments with her, and she's trying really hard to find her way in the world, but she can't see anything, so all she can do is hear and smell, and she smells gasoline on the wind, and she hears the bombs, and she hears all of these things. And anyway, it's just really interesting because she's trying to figure out what's going on, but she has no idea because she can't see.
Marie Lore, I love her dad.
I know.
Because he makes these wonderful things, like little puzzles for his daughter.
I know. So cute.
And it's a tactile way for him to give her a gift. And what was it? He works for the Museum of Natural History there in France.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it? 12,000. He's the key maker.
Suzanne says, no shame, no guilt. You've had just a couple things going on this month. I tried never to worry too much about not finishing books because of the deadline or because I don't want to. And Maggie Ellen, that's okay, I just finished it yesterday. But you know what? I still feel guilty, but thank you so much
you know what? And she brings
your
up an important
kind
thing,
comments.
Because this isn't one of those books that you can plow through.
Yes.
You really need to savor it, and I think that's a good point. She says that this is too much of a book to, you need more of a leisurely pace on it.
But I will say that the few pages that I did read, they brought me in immediately. I was a little afraid because the subject matter seems very heavy. It seems like it's going to be kind of a sad book. I think I'm probably going to cry later. But the book does bring me in almost immediately.
See, that's interesting because this book came out at the same time as The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna.
Yes.
Did you read that
I didn't,
one?
but I've heard that one's also, my father read it. He said it just was so heavy.
And I think that, it was heavy, but it was really good as well.
Right.
And I think there were a lot of people that were either on the Nightingale camp or on the All the Light We Cannot See camp. And I started All the Light We Cannot See after Nightingale.
Okay.
And it was one of those things where it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to, get into this book when I love the other one so much? And they're really different as far as writing styles. This one's dreamy.
It is dreamy. I'm so glad you said that. It's very you're kind of just floating through.
Ethereal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this one is that. And two,
I think that's the style, the narrative style,
right?
Very much so.
Well, and what was it? The author's splitting it up into two different viewpoints.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Marie Lore, the French girl.
Is that how you
and
say
then
it? I was like, Marie Lore? I don't know. I was trying my best French accent.
Marie Lore.
It was fine. Go ahead. Keep going.
Okay. And then you have Werner.
Yes.
Is that the right way to say it?
That's how I always was pronouncing
Werner.
Werner.
Der Korn schmeckt gut.
Deutschland. Great. It was like that.
Okay, but you have these two different viewpoints that the story's coming from. I liked that. I really liked that in this book. And I thought it made it was interesting to get that because then it's not one person.
Yeah. Well, and you get different perspectives, right? Like we kind of did with The Power. Was it last month that we read The Power?
Yeah.
And that was one thing that really made that into a really great book is that you've got these different perspectives.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that their lives are going to converge very soon because they're in the same town, but I haven't figured out how it's going to happen yet because I didn't get that far.
And repeat after me.
Uh-huh.
That's okay.
I'm going to make it okay. Because I'm going to read it, and it's going to be great.
Okay.
Hi, Emily. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Hi, Emily. Well, so anyways, going on to...
Okay, so I wanted to ask you. No. Tell me what you were going to say, because I don't know. I feel like maybe it's a stupid question. That's why I don't like not finishing it, okay?
There are no stupid questions, are
There's
there?
all kinds of stupid questions.
Okay.
Unless you come into the library and ask reference questions, and then there's no stupid question. All the time. Great questions. Okay, so why do you think he made her, so Anthony Doerr, why do you think he made Marie blind in this book? I feel like very easily he could have told this story from a young person's perspective, which is what she is. She's 16, and then we go back in time, and she's 8 all the way up until 12. And
there's a third major character in this book, I think.
Okay.
And it's interesting because I didn't think about it until somebody brought it up at one of the other book clubs that I've been to with this.
Suzanne said she read both this and The Nightingale, back to your original conversation.
Oh,
and she liked this one. Team All the Light. All right. I don't know because I haven't read The Nightingale yet. I might have to put that one on my list too. I did read The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, and I loved that one.
Yeah. Well,
I'll probably go back to
okay.
The Nightingale.
So the third character, I think, and guys, pipe in if you agree with me, was the Sea of Fire, the jewel in this book.
So I know
there's a jewel.
Yes.
And it's a cursed jewel, and there's this whole fairy tale, this legend. And the jewel, whoever owns it lives, but all the other people, their loved ones, those people die or experience horrible misfortunes. So
right, the Sultan and
yeah,
how everybody died
there's
around
a sultan
him
who had who had the jewel, and somebody was like, you know what, that almost makes this book kind of a fairy tale.
Huh. Okay, well I don't feel like I got that far to really, because I feel like it's hard to make a fairy tale about World War II.
I think, right? Yeah, and I mean, sorry, but this may be a spoiler alert for you, but I think that the jewel, if she were able-bodied, if Marie Lore, the blind girl, were able-bodied, or, didn't have, a difference, she may not have done what she did with the jewel. Dun, dun, dun.
Teaser!
So,
okay.
I think we've got some more questions coming up.
We were having a bit of delay, so if we didn't respond to your questions right away or your comments, please forgive us, but we've got them right here. Emily says she loved both books. The Nightingale was heavier, but both are good in their own ways. Great comment. And then Marcia says, I started reading the second time right after I finished it the first time so I could savor it.
Yeah.
Okay. So you read through
totally
it.
I could see that.
And rushed through. Probably because it pulls you right in.
I would say this is one of those books that the first time I had to read it, I listened to it.
Okay.
And it made no sense whatsoever.
Really?
Yeah, because, you've got two different stories going on. This isn't one that I'd recommend listening to. How's that?
Okay.
Because really maybe other people can, or if you understand that it is two different points of view going back and forth.
Did you not get the
and throughout the time, I didn't know what the heck was going on.
Well, but I'm saying the dreaminess really comes across in the writing.
Yeah.
And so when you're listening to it, sometimes you don't get that same feeling.
Maybe.
Uh-oh, Maggie gave us a spoiler. Maggie, I haven't read it. But it's okay. You can talk about it, Racine. You talk about it. I can't look.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
It's okay. I already read it.
Okay, so...
It's okay. I already read it. I'm still going to read the book.
So Marie Lore has this blindness that's caused by, what was it, juvenile cataracts?
Yeah, it was she went blind at age 6.
Yeah. And so, with the other people that had the stone, they were healed by it and they lived better. And I'm wondering why her blindness wasn't cured.
So is this why it's a fairy tale? Because you said the sea, is it the Sea of Flames? Is that what you call it? And then, okay. I can see how this is forming, and I like it. I can't recall. Suzanne comes back with, that's interesting. I can't recall ever grabbing the book twice in a row, but I bet that's a cool experience. I think that would be really cool. Looks like Suzanne tried to do it. Was going to do it with Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. That there's always something new that's pulling you in all these different directions.
So we shouldn't feel guilty if we haven't read the book, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I'll stop.
Okay.
But I want you to feel good and have a lovely life.
I'll have a lovely life.
Okay.
I'm sure of it.
Right.
Next time, you guys. Next time, I promise. I'm on it.
Okay. So, all right, speaking of book clubs.
Yes.
One thing that we should talk about is Tuesday, July 24th. There's a book club toolbox.
Ba-doom.
You should be there because it's going to be fun. It's going to be Sarah and I. We're going to have tips for your book club. We're going to have book talking. We're going to have swag.
Racine always brings the good swag, too.
Well, that's because we have lovely participants like Penguin Random House and Ingram that donate stuff. So you guys need to be there.
So anyway, we're gonna speed date some titles of our book sets so that you can see kind of the things that we offer to support our book clubs here in town, and then also give tips on how to spice it up and things like that. So yeah, like Racine said, it's going to be July 24th here at our Advanced Learning Library at our new facility. If you haven't come, you should totally come check us out because it's a pretty sweet space.
Yeah.
Maggie, that date again is July 24th, 6:30. It should be in all of our calendars and online, and I'm sure that Greg or Kyle's a new member of our team here, so everybody say hi to Kyle, and we'll put that on Facebook.
Kyle rocks.
We'll put it on Facebook too. So let's. Kyle, you can't say hi to yourself. Okay.
Yes,
yes, Racine, tell us about some other books, because Racine's got some really great books that if you liked All the Light We Cannot See and want to try something new in that same vein, we call them read-alouds.
Okay, well, this one is my recommendation to you. If nobody's recommended a book to you, if you don't have people that love you in your life that read, I'm going to tell you to pick up Pachinko by, and I can't remember her name, Min Jin Lee. Okay, this book blew my mind. Actually, I'm still reading it, but I love it so much that I know that you must pick it up. It's about 4 generations of Koreans, and it starts out in like 1919 with great-great-grandfather, and all about his life and how tough his life was in Korea. Well, then about the 20s, they start leaving Korea, the family. You know, great-great-grandmother leaves Korea. They live in Japan. How tough is life in Japan? Really tough. And 2, then it's about time for the war, Second World War. They can't go back home to Korea because they speak Japanese. The Japanese don't respect them because they're dirty Koreans. It's one of those books where it's like they're people of their place, but then they're not. And I would dare to say this isn't like a necessarily cozy book because there's cussing, but...
Is that what makes it no longer cozy?
Well, okay, but it is one of the best Christian fiction books I've ever read. Because it's amazing how their faith affects them. And that's another thing that sets them apart from the people that live in Japan, is the Christian faith. So, Pachinko. Min Jin Lee. I always want to say Lee Ji, but anyways. So that's a book that I'm going to recommend to you.
Great.
All right. And then...
Well, and if you have other things about this book, I will eventually read it all and get on the comments, and we can continue talking about it. Any final thoughts about the book at hand?
I loved it. I'm really glad that I waited to read it after the Nightingale. And I'm sorry, though, I'm still Team Nightingale.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, Suzanne.
There's a rivalry brewing.
That's okay, it's all good.
It's okay. I have a little bit of time before I can decide which one, because I feel like they're both very big books, and I'll get there. Anyway. Okay.
Next month.
Kyle, you have a request to show your face. Do you feel like doing that? Okay, Kyle's not going to do that. He's just, the man behind the curtain.
Yeah,
so
like Greg.
Like Greg. We have 2.
Yeah.
They stay behind the curtain.
But you know what? They make us look darn good, so thank you guys very much for all your hard work.
Okay, next month.
We have a book by an author. Have you heard of Tom Hanks?
Isn't he America's Dad?
I love that. America's Dad.
Well, he is.
The book's called Uncommon Type, and it's short stories. And in each of the short stories, there's like this image of a typewriter. And, sorry.
We're showing it better. Sorry.
There we go. I'm going to hold it just like that.
Yeah, do that.
So,
why don't I hold it while you talk about it?
Short stories. And it's everything from like an actor to a dad in the 50s to surfers to, it's just, I think it'll be a good book for us to read. So that'll be next month for our ICTBC.
But it will also fit the Read ICT category for short stories or essays.
Yeah.
I don't have that number. It's number 8. So anyway, you can join us for that. Promise to read it on time.
Or you know what? If you don't make it, that's okay. Join us. Because
Suzanne, I'm not going to read that last comment out loud about Bill Cosby, but y'all can read it on Facebook. And again, if you can't join us live, we always have these archived on our Facebook page at Wichita Library, or facebook.com/Wichita Public Library. Is that what it is, Greg? And anyway, so you can always go back, and Racine and I continue to monitor the comments and keep that conversation going. We had a great conversation through our comments today, so thanks to everybody who joined us. We got another All the Light, Team All the Light. Sorry, Racine.
That's okay.
Okay. Well, I think that's going to be it for us this month, and we'll sign off.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Have a great one. Come see us.